Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of Musings with Yoyo. Today my guests are my friends Sega and Jen. Hi from Vancouver. So this is the first recording of Musings I'm doing in Toronto. So for anybody who's been listening, I kind of mentioned that I was moving to Toronto at the end of June, July, and then eventually finally made it. It's been like a months-long trip because I stopped over in Calgary for a little bit. So this is the first recording I'm doing in Toronto. And I'm excited for y'all to be my first guests. So before we get started into the questions I have for you, let's do a little bit of intros and check-ins and stuff like that. How's your day going, y'all?
It's good. I slept in until not that long before this podcast recording. So I am rested.
Nice.
Coffee. Sega's been up for ages.
Yeah, I mean, I've been up since like 5, but yeah, my day's been pretty
5?
good.
Why? Went to the gym?
Always wake up early, even though I don't go to the gym. I don't know why, but it just happens.
That's a nice life.
No, it's not, because I want to sleep, but I can't.
Oh, do you do nap times?
I try to, but I don't.
Okay.
We're like opposite because I can sleep in like so easily. I can stay up pretty late.
Yeah.
And Sega can stay up late. He'll get like tired, but he cannot sleep past seriously like 5, 6 in the morning. And I'm like out like a light. Like
Oh wow. Yeah, it depends. If I have a workout to do, I'll wake up early, but if not, I'll wake up at a regular enough time for me to get to work.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure I'm shortening my lifespan. I go to bed at like 1 a.m. and I wake up at 5 every day.
That's no sleep at all.
That can't be healthy.
Hey, you're preparing yourself for parenthood, eh?
That's what I'm like betting on. I'm like, actually great in a selfish way for me.
Yeah.
I see my longevity, but that's okay. It's fine.
There you go. You're preparing. You're ready. So for people who are watching, they might not know how we know each other. So let's get into that. How do we know each other? How did we meet? I know that y'all are a couple, but let's talk about how we met individually. How do we know each other?
You go first.
You want me to start? Well, I know you through Sega, and I actually remember this so clearly because you are a stunning girl. Like,
why? Thank you very much.
like just like so beautiful. I don't know if I actually told you, but after our wedding, I had so many of my friends be like, "That's Sega's friend." Like, yeah, it's cool. Like this. Like they're like, that girl is beautiful. But so I remember this so clearly because we had just started seeing each other. Like, I think I was hanging out. It was maybe the first few weeks, and you had popped by. I was like in his like dorm room, and you popped by to just chat, catch up, pick something up or something like that. And I was quite intimidated. I was like, no, this is a friend. I was like, should I be worried? Like, this girl is gorgeous, and they know each other so well. And then like, very quickly, though, you're just such a chill person. I was like, oh, this girl's cool. It's fine.
No intimidation necessary.
Yeah. But initially, I was just so like,
oh, I did not know that. That is hilarious. I did not know that.
I haven't told you that before, but yeah, no. So I remember very clearly. It was like 2011, very early part of the year. And I was just like, oh, okay, great. This girl's actually like, totally cool.
Aw, yay!
Yeah. I mean,
I like that.
How do we know each other? I feel like I've known you my whole life.
Pretty much.
I cannot for the life of me remember when we met though. So, I mean,
I don't know if I can necessarily trace it back. So we're family friends. And our parents worked in the same company. But that's about as far as I know. I feel like I've just always known you. And then when I got to UBC, I knew you were there and did not expect to bump into you within the first week. I think it was within the first week of me being at UBC. I bumped into you. I was like, yo, that's Sega. And then my brother was like, yeah, we're going out. In 2 days, we're going. I was like, okay, I'm down. And then we just kind of kept on hanging out. But we might have lost touch a little bit when we moved to Holland and things like that. But yeah.
So you guys were like, you guys were in Warri at first, right?
Yes, yeah, that's where I was born.
Yeah, so I was born in Warri as well. So Warri, and then you moved to Holland after that?
No, we moved to Oman after that, and I think that's when you guys were in Holland.
Yeah, so that was where we diverged. But I think I must have known you in Warri at some point. Maybe I was really young.
Yeah.
To Holland and back to Nigeria, and I think I know I met you again in Nigeria, right?
Yes, because our families went to the same church.
Yeah.
But then we like found our way to not be, yeah, when we moved to Holland, that's when I lost touch with everyone pretty much at that point.
Well,
Yeah.
you went to the same high school as, honestly, right, as Sega's little sister, but
I did not. My brothers did.
Oh, your brothers did. Oh, okay.
So the school they went to is called Loyola, and Loyola is one of those places where their exams are very, like, they're known for really difficult exams. Usually the super smart kids in Nigeria go there. I knew for sure I was not going to pass that exam, but my parents had a lot of hope in me. So I remember we got to the exam room, and I realized halfway through I wasn't passing it, so I took a nap. I was like, yeah, this is not for me. This school is not for me. I might as well just fail with my chest. So no, I did not go to that school, but both my brothers did.
Oh, okay. Oh, that's
Yeah.
cool. Lots of crisscross paths. Yeah.
Yeah, lots of crisscross paths. So like you said, Jen, you met me through Sega, which means that y'all are a couple. You're married. You're a couple, right? Okay, yeah, you're married. I was actually the MC at your wedding. You were my first solo MC gig, so that was fun to do. But I want to know, how did y'all meet? What's your love story? What's your love experience? How did you meet?
Well, in the very classy way that many couples met back in the beginning of the millennium, we met at a nightclub. And
nice.
It's literally just, doing your thing, feeling good, had some drinks, and I tend to get quite cocky.
A little too cocky.
When I've had a bit to drink. Anyway,
okay.
And it's so lame because I had to go to the washroom. And do you remember back in the day, we met at Republic?
Yes, Republic.
Yeah. Do you remember those stairs that would go up to the washroom? Yeah. So I was going up the stairs, and this guy in front of me was dawdling. And so I tapped him on the shoulder aggressively, and I was like, "You walk really slow." Yeah. And so he turned around all like angry, and then I was in a short dress, and he was like, "Oh,
done." Yeah. Done.
And that was it.
that was it.
But yeah.
How was your first date? What did y'all do on your first date? How did the asking out go?
First date, I think we went to a movie at McDonald's.
Yeah. Oh, wait, I remember you went to a movie. Sega, do you remember you came to my apartment just before you were getting ready to go meet Jen? You're like, oh, this girl I met, I'm going on a date with her.
I don't remember now.
I remember because you told me you were going to a movie with her. I didn't know about the McDonald's part. I would have probably given you other suggestions, but
I think I suggested it. I really like McDonald's.
A real one.
Yeah. I think it was the Green Hornet. Do you remember that?
Yeah. Is that the movie with Ryan Reynolds?
No, it might be. There's two. I don't know. The Wasp is. I don't know which one it was.
Yeah.
But Seth Rogen was there.
Yeah.
And that was our first date.
Yeah.
But I feel like the whole relationship, it was all just because neither of us were looking for really a serious relationship when we first met. We were just kind of oh, this person's cool. And then we just kind of kept hanging out. So it was never official, oh, do you want to go out sometime? It was more oh, hey, this movie's out. Should we go see it?
Gotcha.
Oh, it was very yeah. And then eventually I just stayed over all the time. So we were living together. It was
it's just a progression without never having that conversation of what are we?
There was sort of a conversation though, and it kind of went she said, I want to change my Facebook profile.
This is how you know this is a while ago also.
To end a relationship. Is that okay? And I was like, I guess we are in a relationship. Yeah. And that was the conversation.
Nice. And so many people do get into, at least back then, would get into relationships because oh, is it Facebook official now? Are we Facebook official? I don't know if they still have that. It's complicated in a relationship, single, all of that. I never changed any because I was then I'd have to change it again at some point. So
oh yeah.
Not here for that. Not anymore. Yeah. So anybody who's watching this on YouTube can tell that you are in an interracial relationship. But not only are you an interracial, you're also intercultural because Sega's Nigerian and you're Canadian. How? Let's do the intercontinental. What was it like navigating? Engaging with family members or any of that of different cultures or even each other? Are there any cultural differences you've noticed?
Well, I would say First off, I think actually, I don't know if I think you'd probably agree too. I think overwhelmingly what we realized is, and it's something I think is actually really great about dating someone from a different country, is how similar families actually are at the end of the day. And most of the time, if you've kind of gotten together, it's probably because you have shared values and shared ways you communicate. And I think like don't get me wrong, I'll get into like differences and stuff too. And most of it's kind of like more funny, but
yeah,
a lot of this stuff, you just kind of realize like, yeah, we're all, I don't know, humans are kind of the same no matter which country they're from. Your families still like typically tease each other, and you're raised with kind of the same, if you're together, like types of morals and kind of rules that you hold fast. And a lot of it was just like, oh, like our families are different, but they're actually like also kind of alike. Like, even though like, yeah, on paper our childhoods were kind of different, a lot of things were kind of similar too. Like we have a lot of shared experiences we can bond over. But yeah, do you think so too?
I mean, I definitely agree with that. I will say though, and on the side of differences,
there are a lot.
What was it like when you told your mom you were not bringing home a Nigerian?
Oh yeah, that's a different conversation.
I will ask.
Yeah, yes. When I first started dating Jen, and I went over to her, she was living with her grandparents at the time. So it's kind of, in Nigeria, you don't, first of all, you don't bring your significant, well, there's someone you just started dating to see your parents.
Yeah.
Like, and then this was like the grandparents.
Yeah.
I had
definitely don't do that.
I had this, I would say I was nervous. I was very nervous to meet them. When I actually got there, they were so chill. It was very surprising to me.
Yeah.
That's one of the big differences, because I wouldn't have expected that if you were a Nigerian family, right? Especially because it was so early still.
If you're a Nigerian family, the minute you're bringing someone, you're clearly telling your parents when to marry them. Like even with Will now, I had to be sure before I told my parents about him, because I didn't want, them to be like, so what wedding day are we picking? All of that kind of stuff. What is his family lineage? My mom Googled his whole lifestyle, like found his Facebook page, found his family, found everything. It's such a big deal bringing someone home. So I can imagine.
That's kind of why, I mean, you can probably tell the story better. But when Jen was about to meet my mom, the same feeling, right? I felt like I had to prep her to meet my family.
Yeah.
So I think I maybe scared her a little bit too much.
Yeah.
I don't know if you want to tell, like.
Oh,
yeah, tell me.
Like I said, don't get me wrong. Like there's a lot of differences too. like the core big things, there's a lot of crossover, but like there's so many differences. And so I don't know you must have met my parents before.
I think I did.
Because my parents are closer. My mom and dad live in Kamloops, and Sam is all in Calgary. And so I think Sega had met my mom and dad. We might have gone to Kamloops for Thanksgiving.
Definitely met them before.
Yeah. So he had met my grandparents first because I was living with them. Then he'd met my mom and dad. And then he went to Calgary like for Christmas and New Year's. And I was in Kamloops for Christmas. And my best friend Julia lives in Calgary. And so I was like, oh, well, I'm going to go there for New Year's Eve. Like, this is going to be really fun. We'll have like a big girls like night out. And I promised Sega's there. Because we were serious, obviously. We've been together for just about a year at this point. But it was still like, that first year, it's a little bit different.
Yeah.
So I went up and stayed with my friend Julia the whole time. And Sega was like, okay, this is like, I'm going to introduce Jen to my mom. And I'd met Anase before, but I hadn't met his older sister, Ajame, or his brother, Sela. Yep. And so I was like, obviously, you're nervous no matter what. You want to make a good impression, right? I'm like, die-hard people pleaser to a fault. Like, not good. And so I was already quite nervous and very like, oh, like, I want to make sure it's cool. Sega had explained how, like, meeting parents, it's pretty serious. Like, it's not like when I met your parents and they gave me a hug and was like, you want a beer? Like, like.
Not at all. Not at all.
So I'm like, okay. And then he's like, as it's creeping up, he's like, okay, and make sure, don't wear makeup. And I'm like, I can't wear any makeup.
Well.
And he's like, okay, that's fine, but don't wear like too much makeup. Like not like when you're going out. Cause I, used to wear a lot of makeup to be fair, but also not like a clown. Like,
he was just kind of like showed how much I was freaking out.
Mm.
Kind of like, I guess transferring that to you.
I think you told me not to wear like a tank top. Like it was.
No, I wouldn't have said that.
Nothing too tight. That's what you said.
Yeah.
Don't wear anything too tight.
Mm.
Like trying to like be very.
I mean, Nigerian parents are very judgmental sometimes.
Yes, they are. I remember when I met Will's mom, I asked him, I was like, what can I wear? What can I not wear? What's she gonna be okay with? And Will's not, like, he's born and raised in Canada. Very Canadian. He's like, I don't think I care. I'm like, but I'm a Nigerian. I do care. So so Sega prepping you was probably good.
And also like ticked off my feminist sensibilities of like,
of course,
I already know how I'm going to thank you very much, like to dress. You don't need to tell me, like, anyways. So whatever. So he picks me up to go meet his family, and I am so nervous. And usually, like, I'd be like a normal level of nervous to meet important people, like, you know, people that are important to someone.
Yeah.
But, like, this was like, I was like, oh my God, is she gonna hate me? And like, oh, I'm white. Like, how big of a deal is this gonna be? And Sega don't help because he's stressed. He's all like, and I don't know if you have noticed this over the years, when Sega's nervous or stressed, his eyes really bulge. So, so he's all like, anyway. So we get to his mom's house. We go in, and it was fine. His mom was instantly just so excited to meet like the girl who her son's been dating, and was so sweet. And we just all kind of sat around and chatted, and like very normal chat. Like, where'd you grow up? What are you doing right now? Blah 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 blah. And I think we went and saw a movie with your siblings, and that was it. And after that, I was like, why did you stress me out so much? Like, that was a very...
No, wait, though, because the first impressions are very important.
Yeah.
Like, I probably went overboard, but maybe it worked. Maybe it was, you know, that's why it was smooth.
Yeah. Do you think, though, because something that I've noticed, too, with Nigerian cultures, and my brothers and I have talked about this, too, is when... So yes, you're white, but you're also female. And something I've noticed is my brother's significant others with their fiancés, when my parents met them, they're like, oh, how are you? How is Vancouver? But when they met Will, they're like, what are your plans in life? It was like a 2-hour, like, what are you going to achieve? What is your Christian conviction? Like all these kind of questions. They asked him a lot of questions. And do you think maybe it's because you're female?
Oh, yeah. I've thought about this like many times, because I think there's in like every culture, but I think especially because most Nigerian parents are quite not only traditional but quite conservative, right?
Right.
And that so goes hand in hand with just having a different attitude about how your little girl is taken care of. And so I think always they're going to be a little harder on the guy, and I think when they have a son, a little easier on the girls. So, and you know, I could be wrong. That's just like observation, but I think that goes hand in hand, very much so. And it seems to be the case in any, I think, more like, I don't know, this sounds so weird to put, like Eastern cultures, like where things are a lot more, less individualistic, more important. Like, I think it's like a common thread.
Yeah, definitely collectivist cultures are very focused on perception, and because everything is family and all of that. So when you're bringing someone to us and not just for yourself. So Sega then, yeah, absolutely. One of the things I was even going to ask is, because you know that your family's probably more conservative, one, being Nigerian, but a bunch of different things. How do y'all navigate, or how do you do translation between each other if there's ever misunderstanding interculturally?
I mean, right off the bat, I try to not like disclose everything that happens in the family to Jen, because I know that some things are not even worth talking about, right? Like the things that are important, sure, like I would say, but I would try to, like, I'm trying to think of an example here. I can't think of one, but basically, okay, for the wedding, for example, right? There were things that my mom wanted in the wedding. For example, changing into trad and all that stuff. I know that she wanted that to happen. But I was like, I could, tell it to Jen. It might stress Jen out a little bit. But then I decided there's something that I don't even need to bring up. Just an example, right? It happens where I know how Jen will take it. and I know how my mom means it.
Mm.
So I either choose to just not convey the message, or I say it in a way that I think Jen will understand.
Right.
Yeah, I think that's a really good way to put it, because definitely like a big difference is I come from a very typical like small Canadian city family where you get a job right in high school. You don't necessarily have to go to university right away or at all. Like it's a little more, I kind of hate that term like blue collar, but it's definitely more kind of blue collar. And so like I moved out when I was 19. I've kind of been quite independent and like, buying my own clothes and like kind of setting my own schedule since I was in high school. So I'm very not used to my parents wanting to direct or have a say in like decisions. It hasn't been like that since I was like 15 or something like that.
Right.
So I definitely also, though, like it's my responsibility to chill that sometimes and like recognize like, oh, like, Sega's mom, I know Sega's mom, like she doesn't mean it in any type of way. It's just like a different type of parenting kind of a thing.
And I think now that they might, like, my mom a lot, my mom knows you. You guys understand each other now. So you communicate in a way that you both understand.
Yeah.
So I have to do a lot less translating these days, which is great for me because, but
and just saying, like, it's not like we ever had a big fight or something.
Yeah. But like some of those little things might add up, and you might need, if something is being one of the things we were talking about before we even started recording was how Nigerians, we talk aggressively. Aggressive is a strong word. We talk loud. We talk with a lot of life. We do all of that. And for someone looking out, when you look at a group of Nigerians talking, it looks like they're all arguing with each other. And you're like, how can you hear each other speak? But we all hear each other speak. Like even in the midst of all that, I can tell you what all 5 people said at the same time. So those little things might need some translation. And Sega, you bring up a good point with even just translating, figuring out what needs to be said and what doesn't. And I know that when Will and I first started dating, I'm trying to work on this a bit more, is making sure I'm not telling him everything that my parents say, because they speak how they do, and he doesn't need to know everything, especially if he doesn't understand everything the way they do or where they're coming from.
And it's not even like you're hiding information. It's just like some things aren't, they aren't meant to be translated.
Yeah, I think it's like, that I would be like, oh God, am I doing something wrong? Like I would take it maybe to heart too much when it's meant as like,
just not even,
like, I don't know, complete like train of thought just coming out kind of a thing, which is really good. So
Oh, that's cool.
Definitely. It's so like when we first were getting like serious, like we were talking about before, I remember going on like family trips or stuff with like Sega's side of the family. And I would be so tired at the end of the day. And I was so like, what is going on? And I'm like, oh, it's totally just like cultural difference in how everyone communicates and how like plans get made, but then everyone's late so it doesn't happen and all of these things. And like as, a white chick who like so stereotypically like, well, we got to get on the road at 6 a.m. because we got everyone out, like everyone tea breaks, like all these kind of things, and like totally communicating with each other, not always very direct. Like it's a lot of stuff that's kind of suggested or more passive aggressive. I was just finding like at the end of the day, I was like, I am so drained. Why? And it's because of trying to kind of like, I don't know, just like pay attention and like also read like the situations better.
Yeah.
Now I feel like I don't know. We've been around your family so much, like so many other times. I don't feel like that at all anymore.
That's awesome.
Back then it was a lot more like, oh,
how do I move?
Okay?
Yeah.
Like,
yeah. Oof. That's a tough one to navigate sometimes too.
Time.
Yeah.
Right? Like,
yeah, it takes time for sure. Absolutely. So one of the things I was saying too, interracial couple in Vancouver, you tend to see that a little bit more often, actually. But again, I don't know. Have you ever noticed any intricacies you have to work around, or people? Do you get responses from people in a weird way? I don't know.
I don't know.
Yeah, not really, because I mean, like you said, there's a lot of interracial couples in Vancouver, especially now, that we walk down the street and we see like 10. We think, we are the OGs, so you guys.
I guess they
never used to be like this. Yeah, back in our day, we didn't do this. Yeah.
Well, I would say it's fairly normal. This is probably just my insecurity or the way I think about things. Where I get kind of weird is because right now we're married, right, and she's pregnant. We're walking together, and it's very normal. Well, I think people perceive it's normal for a black guy to be dating a white girl. That's not crazy. But she's pregnant, right? I'm the dad, and it's one of those like I feel like the dynamic is different. That older white men will look at me like, oh, you're actually taking one of our own or something. This is like probably not the case. Just kind of like how my mind has set things up over the years.
Yeah, I've heard that narrative sometimes actually, even too on the other side with the Black community being like, you're taking one of our guys, especially if you look at like I'll use North American context. A lot of times, like, who's in jail the most in especially the U.S. Who's in jail the most is African American men, Black people, and so there's the impression that there's one who's out here and you're taking another one of them. So I can imagine on the flip side, it's probably just something you will always be thinking about. How do you navigate then those things that might come up?
I mean, it's hard, especially when we go down to the States. We definitely notice it a lot more, but from like the Black people, right? So it's I get called Carlton. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. And it's like it's annoying, but I'm like, I mean, I understand that there's history there, and I don't really take offense and stuff like that. So I understand, right? I try to brush it off, but definitely more apparent in the States for sure.
Big time. Like even because, like you said, in Vancouver, honestly, like every other couple we're friends with, or even just you see out, if they're not like interracial, it's definitely intercultural. Like it's such a mixed bag here. Like hardly anyone is like, I grew up in Vancouver and I'm also dating the guy I met in high school who was in Vancouver. Right. Very mixed bag. So you we're kind of spoiled by that, because definitely every now and then you get like funny looks. But I actually think ever since like Black Lives Matter has gone so viral, we've gotten a lot more like sweet looks, like especially from like older white women when we're like walking down the street, because I have my pregnancy belly. We get a lot of like kind of,
oh really?
Yeah, I think there's been a visible difference, and I think people go out of their way to try to make Sega feel welcome, which is hilarious. I also lived here for like 13 years, but and I'm not putting words in his mouth. This is me paraphrasing what he's told me before.
Yeah. It's funny you say that, because ever since with COVID-19 happening, people are way more just like aware of what's going on in the world. And so with the heightened focus on racial inequality and things like that, when I was at Kitsilano, again, I can go a solid 2 weeks without seeing another Black person.
Right?
Wow. I just, always a shock. But ever since once that started happening in Vancouver, I would notice, and then it became almost like an aggressive smile, like smile back at me, like, I see you, you're welcome in Vancouver. I'm like, okay, chill, ma'am. I don't want to smile. Like, I'm just walking to get groceries. Like, you can't see my smile behind my mask. Like, keep it pushing. But so it's also interesting to navigate that, because people are so aware that they're like, oh, you are actually very much other here.
It's good and it's bad, right? Because remember when you were still here and we went to work out at the tracks?
Yes.
There was that older man that came up and he was like, first he walked by and he just kind of said, he did something weird. I think he took a picture of us or something with my phone. Yeah.
No, before he took the picture of us, he walked by. He didn't even say hello. Yeah. And he was just like, what kind of experiences have you had with racism here? I'm just like, okay. Hello, we're just doing squats. Please keep walking. Yeah.
So it's like it's twofold, because maybe it's good that he wants to learn more, but it's a little too aggressive in the sense that it's, I know you are other. I'm singling you out as other, and I'm asking you these pointed questions, and it's but maybe ease into it.
Or find someone else who maybe you trust more. Like the whole doing it with strangers, like why? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that part. So then Jen, it makes me think like, do you ever feel pressure to, like, if there are things you might not understand, how do you get information about that? Do you feel pressure to know more? Where do you feel pressure to know more from?
Yeah, I think so. Let me backtrack with a tale. I've always been I'm quite a sensitive person. Like I can be like kind of, I'm not tough. I don't know. Like I'm pretty go with the flow about a lot of things, but I do, especially anything kind of human rights related, really just hits me deep. Whether it's homophobia, racism. I have a real tender spot for people with any sort of who've been disabled. My youngest brother is severely special needs, so I think that really cuts. And so ever since I was a little kid and kind of first learned that racism exists, as you tend to do once you start going to school and stuff.
Yeah.
It's just always been something that I can't make sense of. Like, like most of us who have a brain, like I don't like, how is this a thing? And so I think because of that, a lot of my life, I've tried to always learn and grow. And I'm not perfect. Like, I'm not at all saying, oh, I'm this great white savior. Like, I think that's a load of shit. But
yeah,
trying to always be open and talk to, like, not in a weird, aggressive way, but my friends who aren't white, and kind of get them chatting and hear a little bit about what's it like for you living here, like whether they're, brown, black, whatever. And then I think having obviously a spouse who's black makes it a lot easier because we can talk quite openly. I think that's such a tricky thing for a lot of white people who want to do better but don't necessarily live somewhere where a lot of black people live, like
right, like Vancouver.
Yeah, exactly. Anywhere in BC, like there were never, I was actually saying to Sega the other day, I was like, growing up in like BC and Southern Alberta, there were always like lots of kids from like, there's lots of Chinese immigrants and not even immigrants, people who've lived here for generations on the West Coast. Always tons of Asian kids, always lots of South Asian people, like grew up around obviously a lot of like First Nations people as well, but just not really black people at all until the early kind of 2000s. And so like a lot of these places don't have a black population. So I get that, like, it's not because a lot of white people just aren't making friends with black people.
Yeah.
That opportunity's not even there. And so I try as much as I can, like if people ask me, because they might be more comfortable talking to me because they know I'm with Sega and they don't want to offend anyone, just being kind of gentle and open about like things I've learned from being with Sega and being around other like African immigrants to Canada and stuff like that, and just sharing that experience. I'm very passionate with making sure people understand too, there's a huge difference between like Black American culture and people in general. And like, just check your biases and question what media is telling you, because not every black person you meet speaks AAVE, for example, and like a lot, you don't have exposure to a vast variety of black people from all over the world. What you're seeing is like Fresh Prince reruns, and like that's where you're
exactly
the culture is. So I don't know, I feel like I always have things to learn and rephrase and be better at, but I'm trying more and more to not be afraid to kind of speak up or say something to people. Kind of share, because the reality is a lot of times white people especially are more comfortable like coming to me, for example, because it is a little weird to just be like, oh, hey, Jen's that I kind of know, just curious about how racism is affecting your day-to-day life. Like
back off.
It's a little like invasive. So but yeah, and I think now is a great time. There's a million ways to educate, like maybe don't like reach out to every black person, freaking like get on Instagram. There are a million brilliant
Resources.
accounts right now easily laying out like just how to learn more and how to be a little bit better.
Yeah, yeah. And something too I notice people are so afraid of is making mistakes.
Big
And
time.
so because they're so afraid of making mistakes, they do nothing. And that might be even worse. Even worse. And I'm like, okay, what's going on?
But that's like, I mean, that's partly on us as people as well. Because there was this Instagram post I saw where somebody from my work was looking for candidates to apply for a job, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they wanted to give preference to, you know, people of, you know, color.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe she didn't phrase it the best way possible, but like the intent is, you know, we are trying to even out our workforce by hiring more people of color.
Right.
She just got shat on by this recruiter from Pinterest, and it was like you know the intent. Like the recruiter was a person of color.
Okay.
You know the intent is good. Why are you picking on like the wording of, you know, the way it's set up? And I think that kind of attack on people makes them even less likely to want to do things, because it's, I don't want to make a mistake, like you just said. Right? So I think we need to. It's a fine balance of you need to be politically correct. Also, if we know what the intent is, maybe we can just kind of go with that and not pick on like the wording of what you're saying.
Right. Right. I think sometimes though intent and impact can be that's also a fine line there too, because the reactions are valid. Yeah.
I would say if it hits at like preference to Negroes, probably okay to
yeah.
Pretty much. Yeah. Cancel that person.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm sure it's an ongoing thing to navigate. I always think about the fact like I do not know. And I will often hear, especially like, let me use Nigerian parents because that's my context, will say things about African Americans, very specifically Black people in the US. And I'm just like, where did you get that information? Like, are you sleeping in Fox News? Because this is absolute bullshit information. So there's also that, you know, there's always learning from everybody. Yeah. So always a process.
So cute though, that I was like really touched by. So I knew like when like the album was really taking off, I was like, I really want to say something, but I was kind of, because I was honestly just like, I don't want to say the wrong thing. Like I'm some white chick. And sometimes it's like, this sounds really stupid, but sometimes because I'm married to a Black dude, it almost has made me feel more hesitant, because I feel like sometimes the feedback is kind of like, oh, of course she says that. She loves a Black guy. Like it's a little weird, but wouldn't that make me even more able to like help anyway, long story short, so eventually I wrote my Black Lives Matter post just because I was like, I have to say something. This is ridiculous. Like I especially like the murders of Black people in the States from cops, I just like the rest of us, it's incomprehensible. So anyways, so I made my post, and my mom called me like very shortly after, and she was like, oh, I saw your post. And she's like, you know, and I really thought about it. And I don't even I hadn't really thought about what Sega's experiences were, because he's just our Sega. Like, I just don't think about that. And she's like, and it just opened me up. And I have a lot to learn. And she was just so like sweet. And like, I don't know, if one little thing can make, you know, my sweet mom in Kamloops kind of be like, oh, I need to be a little bit
There's more I need to know. Yeah.
It was really, really touching. And just like, my parents love Say. I think they like him more than me. And so just like, I think putting that reminder out, like, it's crazy what some of these little things actually can do. But I think it's really important to like speak up when you can and kind of
and it's also the difference between the individual and the system too, because they know Sega. It's like that person who's like, I have one Black friend, so I love Black people. Not necessarily the case. So your mom also thinking bigger because of just the awareness again around it, or the heightened awareness about it. It's been a thing forever.
Yeah, it's wild times to live in, isn't it? Like, I say all the time, it's funny how, like, you know, obviously your whole life you're living through different historical events, but right now it's like, I don't know, I'm all for, like, I think it's amazing that there's such a focus on civil rights again right now, because I think it's been bubbling up for so long, because it's not like it's fixed in the 60s.
Yes, exactly. The signing of civil rights didn't fix everything. There's so much more.
Yeah. So it's amazing, but yeah, it's a pressure cooker right now. That's for sure.
Yeah. So you've been married for 2 years. How's married life been? Is it different? Is it? I don't know. People always ask that. I'm asking for personal reasons, but is it different? Is it the same? Or what's that been like?
I would say it's been pretty much the same, because we were dating like 8 years before we actually got married.
Y'all were dating for 8 years? That's really true. That's true. Now that I add it up,
8 years and living together for a big chunk of that as well. It's pretty much the same.
Yeah.
It's I don't know. You have this ceremony, you have this party, really expensive, but like you go back to living together, it's fine.
Yeah. I've heard the big difference, actually, the changes in the living together. So people who might wait till they get married to live together will usually affiliate getting married with the change, versus people who lived together before.
Yeah, that's a big risk to take, in my opinion. Like waiting.
Wait, which one's a big risk?
Waiting till the marriage to get to live together. That's what if you realize you don't like this person as much as you did?
Big facts.
What if this person leaves his socks all over the house?
Exactly. You need to know before you get into it.
If you're going to be okay with socks hanging around all the time.
Exactly. She's okay with it.
No, I just have given up, and I'll just pick up the goddamn socks. But it's honestly the same. Like, we didn't notice the difference at all, which sounds so like wah wah.
Anticlimactic, yeah.
Yeah, very anticlimactic. But like, I don't know. We knew for a long time we wanted to get married. Like, I don't think neither of us is extremely conservative, but I think we are both pretty traditional, to an extent anyway.
Right.
And yeah, it was just kind of like one of those things. We were like, all right, time to get married. It's been a while now. Let's do this.
Yeah.
Really, really are gunning for this. And, and then we came back after our like couple of weeks on the island and came back home, and we're like, oh,
back to normal life.
Back to work.
Back to normal. Just now the government has on paper that we're married.
Yeah, literally. Then it was like, because I chose to change my last name, which is actually just like such a pain in the butt, and like and I totally like, it's something I was very much like, I really want to change my last name, but then I kept going back to like, well, you have your dad's last name anyways, so really if you're fighting the patriarchy, like, I don't really So I was just like, I'm gonna change my last name. It'll be easier when we have kids, we'll all have the same last name. That is a pain. It took, I don't know, like, you have to go in person to like Service Canada.
Oh wow.
I ended up having to take like a half a day off work because all these businesses are only open during.
I don't get that. Someone needs to speak to every business who is a mandatory service about why they are only open during certain hours of the day, when most people, Anyways, that's my own side beef with all the ICBCs of the world.
Let me ask you though, what's it like now explaining your last name to people? My maiden name is Wynn, which is W-Y-N-N, and people would screw that up too. Okay. So now people, I mean, I pronounce it very white because I think like Okhiria is easier.
Yeah.
But a lot of people expect me to be Japanese. I've had that quite a few times. Yeah. And then I come up like, oh, actually, it's a Nigerian last name. My husband's Nigerian. And they're like, oh.
Okay, yeah.
Kind of like, if it's like a cab driver or something, it's usually a point of conversation that gets going.
Gotcha. Yeah. Good to know. If I ever decide to change my last name, I'll know to take a day off.
Literally, Yoyo, like, think about just how many things you have to change, because that was something I vastly underestimated.
Literally every single thing that would have your formal name on it. Yeah. Okay. So one of the things that people talk about with change too, especially people who've lived together. So I was talking to a friend of mine the other day who lived together before they got married. So they're like, yeah, it wasn't really a change. We went and did this party, came back home. But then they had a baby and they said everything changed. And so we've kind of alluded to it quite a bit, but y'all are expecting a baby. Woo, woo,
Baby
woo.
in here.
Yeah, so first of all, congratulations. I'm so excited. Before actually I asked what you're excited about with baby coming, how did you find out you're pregnant? How did you tell Sega? How did you tell people?
So we knew that we wanted, like, we've known we wanted to have kids for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
And like,
yes, I remember we talked about it.
Yeah, and sidebar, that is it. Every couple needs to have that conversation like early on, even though it can be kind of awkward because that is such a big thing. So anyways, we've known we wanted to have kids for a long time, and not that it really matters, but we were just like, okay, so we'll start trying after we get married. That's just logically makes sense. And so I was like, had my like kind of, 1 year plan, 2 year plan, kind of thinking that I was like, okay, I know I want to start my own business. So I'm going to start working towards starting my own business. This would have been last fall. And like, let my job know I was going to be leaving, gave a ton of notice, but let them know I was going to be leaving. I took a course like in photography because it was content marketing related. But we also knew that we were going to be ready to have kids like in the next year to 2 years. And so we were kind of like, we should probably like get off the pill. Sorry, this is TMI for anyone, but like very pragmatic reality of it. Yeah. Like, and just make sure, like, is there, because I'm on various prescriptions for various things, and like, am I okay to stay on those? And like, just assuming it would take 6 months to a year, right? Like, that seems to be everyone's story kind of a thing.
Yeah.
And we were very like, you know what? If it happens earlier, it happens earlier. That's okay. But what is the likelihood of that? Like,
right.
Not that high. No, super freaking high. So we like, I think I went off the pill like in the beginning of October.
Oh, y'all got pregnant fast.
Yeah. So I found out in like December, right before Christmas. I was going back to Kamloops for a few days to see my best friend and just visit my parents because we were spending Christmas here. And I was like, it just hit me. I was like, I haven't had my period for a while. Like, that's kind of weird. But like, there's no way I'm pregnant. Like, there's no way. Took a pregnant, and like Sega was home, so we were together. And I think we were actually at a play. We were at the arts club at like a Christmas play. And we were like, oh, when we get home, I'll take like a pregnancy test. Like, there's no way. And so I took a pregnancy test, and it had like the 2 lines, but one was quite faint. And we're both like, what? Like, oh my God, what? Yeah, we were like, this is inconclusive. We immediately ran out to like Superstore and got the digital one.
Yeah.
Took that, waited, and like, totally, like, even though you plan for stuff like this, like, I think it's very normal to anyone out there too to be like shocked. Like, it was positive, and I was truly like in shock. Sega was very sweet, and I think actually quite excited. And I was more just like, is this really happening this fast? This wasn't really what I envisioned. I was gonna take my own business off the ground and like do all this stuff.
I think it really changed your plans.
Oh yeah.
It was probably more of like not like a panic situation, but like a little shock.
Oh yeah, definitely. And then the next morning, I was literally going to Kamloops at like 6 a.m. the next day.
Oh my gosh.
So I go to Kamloops, and I had to tell like all these people immediately because it's Christmas time, and like we drink a ton at Christmas time. Like, that's what you do.
Yeah.
And, had to tell. I think I told obviously Sega first because he was there. We found out.
He should probably know first.
Yeah, exactly. Right. And then I had to tell my dad because my mom was at work, and we were going to go to the liquor store and pick stuff up. And I was like, I got to tell you something. Like, I can't drink because I think I'm pregnant. And my dad was like, are you really? Like, so excited. And then my mom came home from work, and she'd had kind of a bad day. And so I was like, well, I think I have some news that might cheer you up. And she's like, oh, what? And I was like, I think I'm pregnant. And she's like, what? So yeah, it was just one of those things. I don't think anyone wants to really tell people like that early, because I was like 2 weeks pregnant.
Right.
You kind of had to.
I had to. No one would have been like,
she doesn't want to drink. Yeah.
Like, that doesn't make sense. Like, it's a permanent happy hour. Like,
yeah, exactly.
Why are you? No one would buy that. So everyone.
Why are you even visiting?
Yeah, literally. So anyway, and then we tried not to tell a lot of people, like kind of wait longer until it was a bit sooner, which is hard, man. It's like, because you really want to, but then obviously, like, especially at the beginning, it's so like, you don't know what's going to happen.
Yeah, you never know. Yeah. Sega, how did you tell your family?
I think we told them together. We FaceTimed them.
Yeah.
Was it? It was No, it wasn't New Year's. It was.
No, it was like New Year's Day.
Okay, yeah.
I think we ended up. So we kind of waited, but like we waited as long as we could.
I think we felt, because we told your parents so early, we didn't want my mom to feel left out.
Yeah.
So we just tell them as well. They were really excited.
Oh yeah.
Especially honestly, it's like I don't know how she's so happy. She's happier than I am.
She's gonna be an aunt. Of course, she's happy.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But yeah, and your mom is obvious, and both our like sets of parents could not be happier. I think it was to the point, because we'd been together so long. I think on both sides they would have been. If we had accidentally gotten pregnant before we got married, I think they would have been like, that's fine.
Yeah. Finally.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, Sega's mom was like, "This is the best like New Year's news ever." Like, it was like so.
Oh, great way to start the year. And it's the first grandkid for both parents, right?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, this kid's about to be spoiled. So in Nigeria, most times people will give you a name. So I just want to like throw my name in the hat right now. Yoyo Ogene is a non-gendered name. You can call them Yoyo, whatever. It's a non-gendered name. So I'm putting my name in the hat. And even if you decide not to do it, just tell me you did it anyway. Do it on a fake certificate and I'm cool with that.
You could just call him that. It's fine.
I will. That's my plan. I've been calling my friend's kid Lil Yoyo for the longest time. It hasn't stuck, but I will try with this baby.
Well, you're not giving
up. What are you most looking forward to with being parents?
You go first.
Oh, I mean, I was gonna say, just kind of seeing this kid grow up.
Yeah.
And just develop his own personality. I don't know. It's weird, because this is something that I guess we created. But to see him become his own person, I'm kind of excited to kind of see that whole process and be as present as possible, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's what I'm most excited for.
Yeah. Are you going to be taking him to the gym? What age are you going to start taking him to the gym with you?
The moment he can walk, he's going.
He can be your workout buddy. He can replace me.
Yeah. He needs a workout buddy.
I mean
slacking.
The problem is that, once you work out with Yoyo, no one else, that Yoyo has this level of determination that, like, she just keeps you going.
I don't lose. I don't lose in the
gym. Even if you're losing, you act like you're not losing.
I'm so bold with my losses.
I have to say, like, yeah, because every time he comes back, he is so sore and like broken, and it's because he's competitive and he's trying to keep up with you.
Yeah, exactly. We're just competing with each other the whole time.
Yeah, exactly.
Especially with the abs, the ab work. I don't know how you do it.
Well, you don't have abs, so that's.
That's rude.
Say less.
Quarantine 15, baby. But anyway. But yeah, I think, we're both very much like, as parents, like, we want to be present. Like, that's such a big goal for both of us, which I think is most people. You want to be there and be aware. And yeah, I think just like excited for every phase and seeing their little personality develop and like little things like dancing around the house with your kid and like taking him camping and like, I don't know, like just playing and growing. I think it's going to be so much fun. Mm-hmm. Hard, obviously, also, but like a lot of fun.
Yeah.
I hear it gets easier.
Until you're a teenager.
Yeah, until they start talking back to you and then you're like, why did I do this again? I'm sorry.
Exactly. You can do one of these. I'm kidding. I wouldn't hit my kid. Maybe I would have. Who knows?
Yeah. Are you nervous about anything with being parents?
You wanna?
Yeah, you got to think on that. I think definitely. Like, there's lots of like, I'm nervous for them. Like, in a lot of ways. Like, I think on the one hand, I'm a big like, I'm not gonna really over stress about this too much because I'm just gonna get myself in an anxiety wormhole. I obviously think about things like, of course, I want them to be accepted and have friends, and you just think, oh, what if like they're bullied, or what if they? I think for me is like, because they'll be biracial, like, how is that going to affect their identity? There's going to be things I won't be able to relate to for sure, but there's going to be stuff Sega won't be able to relate to, and like, I don't know, just hoping that they feel like heard and seen is a big thing. I think all the time, like, it's so we're having a boy, and it's so important to both of us that like, I'm not a subscriber to like boys will be boys. Like, I really want this boy to have a strong sense of self and be kind and not be like afraid of his own emotions, and to be able to articulate those things. And you know, sometimes I worry, like, I think like that, all my girlfriends would raise boys in the same way, but that doesn't mean the rest of the world does. Like, is he getting teased for being like soft? Is that still a thing? I don't even know, because I'm not a parent yet.
Right.
Yeah, like, I think that's a big thing, is just worried about how they'll fit into the world, but also not wanting them to just fit in. I want them to have a strong sense of self, you know?
Yeah. Be your own person in the world.
Totally.
Yeah.
And sometimes that's tricky. Like, I was a huge dork growing up, like, and a lot of it is because I was kind of just myself, and like, I don't know, it meant I really lucked out and have amazing girlfriends that I'm still friends with, but like, I was not cool by any stretch of me.
I like how she says, I was not cool. She's still not cool. Okay.
And look at this, you're happy, well-adjusted.
Yeah. Okay, well, thanks. But like, I think all those things that are like, make it hard sometimes as a kid are actually the things that make you such a more like well-adjusted adult, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
No. And then it's just like, oh, I can't worry about any of this, because who the hell knows? Yeah. What about you? What are you nervous about?
I think, well, I would say that what I maybe was most nervous about was just not scarring my kid, you know?
What do you mean by that?
like
what plans you have on the side? Yeah.
Like, because you want to raise them in a way that, you know, they're well adjusted. You don't want to do something that will, you know, give them some sort of trauma that you didn't know. But it's one of those things, you never really know what they're going to react to or not. It's based on their personality, right? So like, one of the things I was most worried about is, I want to raise this kid, I want to give this kid the best chance possible, right? Raise them in a way that they're emotionally well-rounded, physically well-rounded, and all of that stuff. But you don't really control it. Like, you do what you can, right? Yeah. They accept it. You just help them cope with things, I guess. And, you know, maybe they become a good person.
Yeah.
I think it's so important for parents to be kind to themselves.
Yes.
No one knows what the hell they're doing. And like, you never know, you could accidentally just be having a terrible day and say something you instantly regret to your kid, and it's an accident, and that could be something they end up holding on to for a long time. And like, that happens. And like, yeah, it sucks, but you just gotta, I think, try your best. And so long as that kid knows that they're cared for and accepted at home, I think, I don't know. Hopefully.
Yeah, the baseline of that, like, and if you even think about your relationship with your parents, there are probably things that they might have said, and you're like, are y'all serious right now?
Oh, yeah.
But, yeah, as long as that intent is there to care, and I think one of the things y'all talk a lot about is just wanting them to be a well-rounded, well-adjusted person. You're going to do what you can to do that. And eventually the kid will be able to tell you what it is they also want. So a lot of people put pressure on, like, have to get it right the whole time, and like, kids will humble you quickly and be like, so you're doing it wrong. I mean, I'm not a parent, but like they will tell you, you're doing exactly everything wrong, and this is what I want. Adjust accordingly. I will see you at bedtime. Yeah.
Right? Yeah. I will see you at bedtime.
See you at bedtime. Don't be late. Yeah. Yeah. I think y'all are gonna be awesome parents. I'm so excited. I'm so excited.
I know. I can't wait for you to meet him.
Yes.
So.
I know. I was really hoping that the dates would work for me to still be in Vancouver, but it either gives y'all a reason to come visit us in Toronto, or we'll come visit you and see everyone.
Yeah. Well, and definitely the bonus is with your family in Calgary and Sega's family in Calgary.
Exactly. There's a central meeting point.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay. So usually at the end of the recording or the podcast, I'll give everyone a chance to ask me one question.
Ooh.
Do you have a question for me? It has to be a joint question.
A joint question?
Yeah. Think about it. Whisper it into whatever.
Well,
I like the fact that you're actually whispering.
Or do you want me to just come up with something?
Do you have something?
How deep can it be?
Wait. Okay.
It can be anything.
Okay, that wasn't the question. That didn't count. It's not like
no, that didn't count. That's still, that didn't count. That wasn't the question.
Okay, I'm gonna ask you something. You can totally edit this out if you don't want to.
Okay.
It's something I'm very curious about because Will has a daughter, correct?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And how, like you just said, because I know you're not a parent, but obviously, like, you're moving in with Will. Like, obviously, you guys are together. Like,
yeah.
So how, like, as you're going to be, like, a stepmom, which sounds like an archaic term in, like, the modern world. But, like, how is that for you? Like, I'm so curious because I feel like a lot of the things, like, I'm thinking and going through about being a mom and stuff, I assume you probably are too.
Yeah. That's a good question. I don't know if y'all remember, but when I first started dating Will, do you remember when we went to Cactus Club or somewhere downtown and we were like, do you want to be a stepmom? I remember you asking that question. I was like, I don't know. Because most times people don't go around looking to date someone or be with someone who has a child, because especially if the mom of the child is still around and alive, this probably means that something happened where they're no longer together, or they maybe were never together, whatever it is. So typically in that situation, you kind of have to figure out who it is that you are to this person, especially if they're not old enough to understand. So I had never had an issue with dating someone who has a child. My thing has always been, I want them to have a cordial relationship with the other parent. Because it just makes it like that. It just makes it easier for navigating. There's no picking sides, nothing like that. It's just like more people love you now than just those two people. So I am nervous though about like, where do I fit in all of this? Like, I'm not her mom. How do I navigate? Like, just like, how do I tell you about yourself? Like, if you're acting like a brat, how do I tell you're acting like a brat without overstepping? Things like that. And I think, like you were saying, it's about navigating and getting to know the person over time. Will's daughter will tell you what she's thinking. Absolutely tell you. I will never have to guess. If I tell a joke that's not funny, she'll happily tell me that it's an awful joke and let's try again. So that's something I think I've been learning, is just like, in the same way with anybody, I would build a relationship with them from scratch. From day one, we'll have to build that relationship. It's not an automatic relationship. I have to give myself that ability to do that. Yeah. That's probably the best. Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
in theory, it's great, but I'm sure that like, as we continue to go, there'll be things that'll come up and I'll be like, whoa, I didn't realize I would feel this way about blah, blah, blah.
I mean, what isn't like that, right? Like,
yeah.
And the fact that you're thinking about these things already, and like, I think that's amazing. And also, like, just to say, I love that that's your approach, was like, the kids, I have nothing against that. It's more the relationship, because like, Will is such a great person, and like,
aww.
I don't know, it would suck to like miss out on that for you, like that relationship for something that actually at the end of the day is not that big of a deal.
Yeah. Yeah.
It is, but not also.
Yeah, like another family member.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I hope that wasn't too.
No, that was a good question. I like it. If there was anyone who would ever ask me that question, I would guess it would be you.
Very like, I'm such a like analyzer, and I'm always so curious when people have like, I don't know, just stuff going on or like, situations. I'm always like, oh, I wonder how they're thinking about that.
Yeah.
I think because I'm like, oh, I would be thinking about it. Everyone must do that.
Yes, exactly. This must be running in her mind all the time. And it does, but it's definitely something also that we've talked about. So we communicate. Y'all two are good at communicating. So you'll learn and you grow.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Well, that was a beautiful answer.
This was good.
Question.
Thanks for asking that. That was a good one. All right. This was a fun episode. I enjoyed chatting with y'all. Time flew by so quickly. I was still in it. Yeah, the time flew by. Yeah, it was fun conversation. So, summary of this is name your kid after me.
Yeah.
First name is fine, but I'll settle with middle name. If you really decide to go with a third name, fine, I'll do that. But that kid's getting my name in there somewhere. I will call them that. But I'm so glad that y'all joined me on this. I'm looking forward to meeting him very, very soon. I was nervous that we would not be able to record this because we did not want to have water breaking in the middle of recording.
No.
That would have been fun though.
You know what? I actually thought, I was like, what if I'm totally wrong and this kid actually comes early and like this starts on the podcast? I'm like, was that a great episode or like the worst episode?
It would be an episode. It would be hilarious. History in the making.
Yeah, exactly. No, this was so much fun, and you're such a, I don't know, awesome person to talk to. I love this podcast. First of all, you're like such a great person to be hosting a podcast.
Oh, thank you. Till I have nothing to talk about anymore, and I'm like, y'all, this was fun.
Yeah, I'm out.
See you again sometime. Goodbye.
As long as there are always people to talk to, there's always something to talk about. I
agree. And like stories will always come out all the time. And I'm a talker. Y'all know I'm a talker, so I'll always find something.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. I